You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Roses are red, violets are blue, but the iris is the flower that will mean the end of it.
You can run from Suspiria. You can hide from Suspiria. Suspiria. But you cannot escape Suspiria. The only thing more terrifying than the last 12 minutes of Suspiria are the first 92.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Good morning, everyone. This is Walter on iWalter. Welcome to me. It's Friday. It's 2/13, and it's 9/11. Yes, I actually forgot to put a story in my mix about that being the fact. Yeah, this is once again that time of year where back on this date in September on the 11th that we got attacked. The U.S. got attacked in New York, and we lost millions or a lot of people. I'm not going to say millions, but we lost quite a few people. In some ways, I wish we would have lost some more. I'm being sarcastic. I apologize about that. That's not very funny. But yeah, don't forget, we always mentioned, we're never going to forget, but we did. Trust me. Excuse me. I had a belch. Anyway, I just wanted to start out because I just found out it was an accident. I actually stumbled upon this. I don't know how, but it was this movie called Suspiria. Now, the thing about this, I might have talked about this before a while back, when I did a couple of my first podcasts. Suspiria, they're going to remake the movie now. I thought it was just basically awful, but when I was a kid, I used to watch these shows on TV on Saturday afternoons. They were called Creature Double Feature and Dr. Shock. These were like these old, the ones that Mystery Science Theater 3000 always are picking on. Those bad horror movies, I guess, are considered, or B horror movies, same thing. B means bad. Anyway, I used to love those, and they used to scare the crap out of me. But one time, I was watching them many a times. I used to watch this stuff by myself because my mother got me into watching these horror movies, these old black and white ones that they used to show in Philly. So the one time I was watching by myself, and I always had a blanket with me because I'd always get so freaking scared by these horror movies, even these old ones. I'd always have a blanket just in case it got too scary. I mean, you're talking somebody who was under the age of 10. I mentioned to a guy at work tonight. So anyway, this one time this commercial came on, and it was advertising for this movie called Suspiria, which I didn't remember the name of the movie. All I remember is what I played in the beginning of the monologue for my show tonight. And it was this back of his head, back of this woman's head. I thought it was like a shampoo commercial. Because again, I was a little kid. I didn't know any better. And it was the first time I actually showed it, or at least the first time I actually ever saw the commercial for this. It was back in 1977. And they were advertising for this movie. It's an Italian filmmaker. And, obviously this woman's going, roses are red and violets are blue. You don't see her face. And then she turns around and it's this skeleton. I was so petrified. I was like sweating bullets. I was so afraid. I was having nightmares every night from that movie, and it scared me for literally years. I mean, I don't know how long it had taken me, at least a decade or two, just to figure out what this movie was, because I had no clue. But it was like, okay, this movie is still bothering me up until almost, somewhere in my 40s. And it was like, yeah, it frightened me that bad. It's like, I got to see what this movie is all about, because this movie really scared me, the commercial. So I rented the movie. Actually, I bought it at one point. I wish I got rid of it because it was so bad. But honestly, I kind of almost want to have it again, just because for the nostalgic reason, if that makes any sense, because this movie scared the fuck out of me as a kid. I mean, I literally almost shit my pants when I saw that commercial. I mean, I was really afraid. In fact, I did have nightmares for quite a bit after watching just a freaking commercial. So anyway, the thing is that people may not know, they've never even heard of this movie called Suspiria. So I had to look it up. And I basically picked the first one I could find on, because I knew this after watching the first one. The movie's actually a trilogy. The director actually made 3 movies, all interlaced. And is basically the first one was Suspiria, the second one's called Inferno, and the third one's called Mother of Tears. Now, Suspiria I owned, Inferno I rented, and Mother of Tears was just basically, all 3 of them I don't think are that great. The third one I actually picked up for $3, so I just ended up buying it because it's the only way I could find it anyway. I couldn't rent it. Otherwise, I would have just rented it. Rented the movie. Anyway, I'm trying to see if this article I pulled up actually kind of mentions this. But yeah, it's basically, the gist is it's about, it says, the reviews are basically about the 3 Mothers trilogy. So the first one, Suspiria, is actually about this witch who is running this place, I guess, for ballerinas or something like that. And I thought it was like really bad. I did see all 3 films. I think the third one was really grotesque, though. For some reason, and actually probably out of the 3 was the most interesting, even though it was the most goriest one. Yeah, there was some nudity in the third one. But yeah, but it was pretty disgusting. The first one, though, what made it so impressionable, if that's a word, is the fact that this movie, the first one, used to its, the big thing that was pushed about the first one was the Technicolor. I mean, there was movies in color before, but they really just used these really bright colors in the film, like they enhance the color. So when people think of Suspiria, that's what they think about. It is a horror movie, but it was just the way it was shot with these elaborate, bright colors. I mean, they stood out vividly. Like that was a big thing. The other ones, they didn't make that big of a deal of, like they did the first one. But it was a trilogy, I guess. But now, if you look on, I did tonight on Rotten Tomatoes earlier tonight at work. It actually got like, I'm going to have to pull it up again because I forget. But it got a really good rating. Sorry about that. Should be easy. Yeah, Suspiria, 1977 on Rotten Tomatoes, got a 95 solid red tomato, and 84% of the audience score was 84%. So it's an hour and 37 minutes. It was released again, February 1st, 1977. So I was born on February 7th. So that's probably why also it was like, I didn't want to go see that movie, by the way. And it wasn't released on DVD until September 11th of 2001. So it was quite a bit of a distance. Of course, back then you wouldn't have movies on VHS or anything like that. The movie was okay. It just made no sense to me. And it wasn't until the very end of the film you find out it's about a witch. So let's see what it says. Movie info. An innocent American ballet dancer excitement at being accepted to a prestigious European dance school turns to terror when she discovers the institution is a cover for a murderous coven of witches. I mean, it depends if you like kind of like off the wall 70s type films, then you'll be fine. But honestly, I thought it was just really bad. Inferno actually did continue on where Suspiria left off more so. And probably that's why I'm not saying much about that. And again, when I got to Mother of Tears, the third of the trilogy, that kind of definitely, it did tie in at the very, in many parts of the movie of what I can remember of it, because I own it. But it was something, honestly, especially in the beginning, it was just so gory and grotesque for this movie, the third one, that, it just... Like, okay, it's not even like that it scared the crap out of me. It was just basically a gore fest in the beginning. Disgusting. So, but anyway, they're going to remake that. And I had something I wanted to complain about, obviously with work, but I'm not sure I'm going to fit that in. I will find a place. Trust me. So, I actually have 3 stories that can go with that. I'm looking for where I ever put it, the Suspiria remake thing. I'm not going to actually go into grave detail. It says Suspiria remake 2.0 now with, well, I'm not going to read their names. I'm not going to even bother. But they actually said there was one producer they had for the film. He kind of dropped out. And by the way, it's on avclub.com. But there's one guy who was going to work on the remake of the film. I think he kind of dropped out. They got somebody else. And the big thing they're saying now, this new producer or director they had got instead is actually really is Italian, because these films are basically Italian films. So that being said, that I guess is pretty cool. Make sure I have my volume off. I think I do. It was, but they're obviously, I mean, if you're going to remake a film, you're going to probably take a different twist as well. Hopefully they do, because honestly, I don't like the original one that much. And the only reason, like I said, I'd probably buy it if I did. Oh, you can buy all 3 for $24. That's not too bad on Blu-ray. I'm trying to be cautious on saying this director's name because I don't want to ruin it. Actually, it's his other films. Inferno is one of them. I thought it would put all 3. It would make sense to honestly put all 3 of his films together if it was a trilogy, but they did not. So never mind. I'll take that back on what I just said. It would have been nice for $23 if I get all 3 films on Blu-ray. I would have done it. Again, just it's the first one is the one that really made an impression with the commercial, not the movie. The movie was just bad, in my opinion. Now, other people, many other people would disagree with me. I'm going to try to take a thing with his name, try to say his name, but it looks like Dario Argento. So I hope I said that right. Anyway, that was the guy who originally made this trilogy of films. He's done other things, but that's what he's known for. But But they found some director who actually worked on some film called I Am Love and the upcoming A Bigger Splash. Now, this announcement that I had read, was September 9th, 2015. That was just 2 days ago now. So, this is going to be really happening. It's not just being hearsay. It's going to happen. So, I'm kind of remotely interested. Now, if it's an Italian film, obviously it would take longer probably to get over here unless it goes in the small movie houses. If they remake the film, I'm going to check it out. Just because I'm kind of curious, but I really did not like the original one. And I'm hoping for something different. Anyway, I just want to, because I got a lot of stuff lined up tonight. And then I can lead into these two stories about me complaining about work. I came into work today. Now, I got left with a lot of work. We had a short week. We only had 4 days because we had off Monday for Labor Day. I was one of the few people who actually can say, I can enjoy Labor Day because it's a day off from work. That's what Labor Day is all about. It's for the people who actually work in this country, a day of rest for them, an official holiday for them. So I can say that. I can't say for that even for the people I work with, but I can say that for myself. So I come in, and it's always like drama queen city from somebody or drama from somebody. So I come in, and this one girl who moved her desk because she didn't, in her own little world, her own little demented mind, she thinks that I'm actually stalking her. Now, I said this to a friend tonight. Just because I talk about her all the time, it's just because the only thing I'm obsessed about is the fact that she thinks that I'm like stalking her, and that just brings more attention to the table with me. So if she, basically would talk to me or, not hide the fact that she dresses like a tramp all the time, quite honestly, I wouldn't even know she existed at that point. But, it's one of these things, the more people, there was a song by Morrissey called this, and I'm going to name the name of it. It was called, The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get. So I should have played that as my theme tonight. Let me see if I can find that from Morrissey, because I want to make sure I got the name right. God, I haven't spelled his name in a while. But I swear to God, that is the name of the song. Sorry for that. My typing's really slow. Yeah. Marcy made a song that's called The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get. Well, the answer even Matt's question of why you just talk about this girl all the time, if you're not interested, why you talk about her all the time, because I've heard this not only from Matt, but my other friend Todd. Well, the reason is because by ignoring me, you're just drawing more attention to yourself. She doesn't realize this. Most people don't. And here's the lyrics for Morrissey's song, by the way. It goes, the more you ignore me, the closer I get. You're wasting your time. The more you ignore me, the closer I get. You're wasting your time. I will be in the bar with my head on the bar, and I am not a central part of your mind's landscape. Whether you care or do not, I've made up your mind. So, see, here's the thing, though. And, the more you ignore me, the closer I get. You're wasting your time again and again. He's basically saying the same thing. It's re-saying what he started the song out with. But then he puts, beware, I bear more grudges than lonely high court judges. When you sleep, I will creep in your thoughts like a bad debt. So the problem is, though, I mean, maybe this is not, I'm interpreting it right. I'm just using this as an analogy for what I'm going through. And I'm thinking this is probably what's going on with me with this girl. If she actually didn't play these hide and seek games, hide in the corner, sneak out of the building just because she's afraid I'm going to stalk her, I would probably not give her like a nickel of my time. I would not have no interest in her at all because it would just be like, it wouldn't be entertaining any longer. But she goes out of her way. Now, today she saw me come in. She went to her unofficial desk cubicle. She right away put on her uniform because she probably had on her spandex and she had her hair all decked out. So what does she do? She puts on her uniform and she puts her hair up like she pins it all up. So, I mean, for all the time she spent trying to, make me not pay attention to her, actually made me even more curious and want to spend more time figuring out what the fuck she's trying to hide from me. So the simple solution to that is not try to hide, because once the game is over and your delusions of grandeur are gone, the game is won because there's nothing for me to complain about any longer. But unfortunately, this girl can't think that high. Her intelligence is, even though she has a college degree, is not very, she's not very swift, I guess. She's not very intelligent. Because if she would have realized that by not hiding that she's a tramp, I probably would I wouldn't even want to be bothered by her. Like, it would be like, okay, you're just basically, I know you're annoying now. You're not hiding the fact, and it'll all be over. You wouldn't even ever I wouldn't even try to go out of my way to figure out what she's trying to do. But I mean, that's just human nature. Now, Matt and my friend Todd probably would disagree with me, but I hate to tell you, yeah, that is new human nature, trust me. That if somebody tries to go out of her way, because I have a neighbor next door who does the same thing. As soon as I pull my car up, she pulls the blinds across, and she literally, it's not the woman who lives there, it's her daughter who moved home, who's this heavy-set, unattractive lady who's in her 50s, not the woman who lives there. She's probably in her 80s. But her daughter is so, intrigued that, I probably am stalking her. It's like, you know what? Trust me, I have no interest in you. Even if I'm you're the last woman on the face of the planet and I'm the last man, I would either have to do an Oedipus Rex and stab my eyes out, or basically just continue to do what I do now and basically masturbate every night on the women that used to exist, even after they're all gone, because she's not attractive. But I swear to God, I'll come up and she literally now had almost, it's equivalent to basically putting taping up your windows so you can't look in. She put these blinds on her windows that are tight to the glass. And she basically keeps all the shades down in her house, and she pulls it across as soon as I pull my car up. So bottom line is, yeah, that draws my attention too, because, you're a nutcase that lives next door. And it's the same thing with this nutcase at work. Now, if you didn't make such a big deal out of it, honestly, I wouldn't even know you existed. Now, most people like my friend Matt or Todd would probably say, well, maybe you just need to ignore that. Just pretend they're not even there. But it's hard not to. One, you got somebody who lives right next to you until the day I either move out of the house, or if my parents pass away, I'll sell this house because I'm not going to live next to them any longer. Once that's done, I'm out of here. And at work, you see the same exact people day in and day out. And it's not like retail or, in college or something where, hey, you only have to deal with these people for 6 months and then they're gone, or in retail where the next day there's going to be a different set of customers coming in that take your mind off of the idiots you got to work with. No, you work with the same people behind the same plant site every day until the day you retire. So yes, that gets really, really irritating, and you cannot avoid that. So I'm trying to make this clear for Matt and my friend Todd. This is how hard it is to ignore that. You can just say, well, just ignore it or go away after a while. No, because you try to ignore it, but it's like being in jail. Just picture it this way. Being in prison where your inmates, you're going to see those same people every day. And if you don't like them, that's too bad, because you're going to spend the next 80 years, if you're serving a sentence or life imprisonment, with that same person every day staring back at you. So trying to ignore them in a small cell would be impossible. Well, this is not much different. Trust me. This is almost exactly the same. So I'm just trying to say this. And here's my follow-up for the wacko that at work. Friend sent me this PIX 11 Man wanted for touching himself while staring at a woman on D train in Brooklyn. So I was going to make the sarcastic remark, maybe this is her boyfriend. Brooklyn, New York, city police are looking for a man accused of touching himself while standing across from a 25-year-old woman in the subway in Brooklyn. The woman told the police she was sitting on the southbound D train around 11:45 a.m. August 5th when she noticed a man standing across from her with his hands down his pants, rubbing his genitals while staring at her. The suspect then spoke to the woman before leaving the train at the Pacific Street station. The suspect, described as a black male who is bald, he was last seen wearing a black baseball cap, blue sneakers, and blue shirt and sunglasses. Anyone with information regarding this incident is asked to call the NYPD Crime Stoppers hotline at 800-577-TIPS. So I was going to make the sarcastic remark. Maybe this is what this girl at work who wears spandex and decks out her hair until I come in, and then she looks like some homeless girl or a hideous girl is looking for. Maybe that's even her boyfriend. Who knows? So I was going to. That was my sarcastic comeback, by the way, for that. There was another one too, because I like to throw the digs back. Trust me. No, this wasn't it. There was another one in my okay, here we go. This was actually the one sent from my friend Todd, Local 21 News. This is where he lives now, Lancaster County. Maybe this is this girl who is just trying to look for an easy lay anywhere she can get one. Police seek a man who tried to lure a girl into, and that's where it cuts off, actually. It doesn't say anything. And this is at Leacock Township, no puns intended, PA. State police in Lancaster County have released a composite sketch of a man suspected of trying to lure a child into a vehicle earlier this month. Troopers at Lancaster Barracks said that the Lauren was reported on September 1st between 8:30 a.m. and 8:45 in the area of Yost and Tabor Road in Leacock Township. Police said the man suspected of attempted Lauren is between 25 and 30 years old, with short-shaved hair or a bald head and a reddish-brown beard. Hey, this is perfect for this girl. I think this is what she's actually attracted to anyway. The man was reported to be driving a dark a dark flat gray sedan, but the make and model were unknown. Police said that the victim who reported the incident was a 14-year-old girl from New Holland area. So, hey, this is a perfect match for this single mother who is trying to look for an easy lay anywhere she can get it, but then has to cover up when she sees me. This is perfect. I mean, it's a match made in hell. There was no physical interaction between the two, police said. Anyone with information about the incident or anyone who may recognize the individual matching the composite sketch is asked to contact Lancaster Barracks at 717-299-7650 or email, and I'm not going to read that one off. You can see it on local21news.com. You talk about nutcases, by the way. My one friend, he has this girl that moved in. She drives a convertible, Audi or something like that, and he thought that she worked for a hospital, and he says, well, this girl's really kind of wacky. She keeps on parking in other people's parking spots and other things. This is my friend Todd. So I said, well, maybe she's part of, like, what I used to be. I was in an outpatient facility thing. I said, maybe she's got rich parents, and, if she's that wacky, because he says a lot of stuff she does is really nuts. Now, I'm not mentioning the things she has done that is nutty, but she's actually got a lot of the neighbors in his apartment complex. I don't know if I mentioned he lives in an apartment complex. Really mad at this girl. So he did say, I think you're right, Walter. I think this girl is in some mental outpatient facility because the one day he said it looked like her brother came up and he also had an Audi. Now, he said just the other day that, and on top of that, her parents came up and they also have Audis too. So the girl is living in a rather very nice apartment complex, which I was in some similar situation. But she's always home, or if she's not home, she's got like hospital T-shirt on. I said, well, you can get those from because they have psychiatric wards on a lot of these hospitals. They have to on regular hospitals. So maybe she got the T-shirt and she is some type of outpatient person. So at first he didn't answer or respond to that when I said that, but now he actually, by what he's been telling me, which I can't remember everything, my friend Todd has been telling me, he says, you know what? I think you're right. I think she is some type of outpatient psychiatric patient where her parents are just putting her up in a hotel because she can't live at home, and they come to visit her like almost every day, or at least quite frequently. So it was like, you know what? I should know. I can basically call that pretty well when it comes to people that are nutcases. Trust me. Because I got plenty of them at work, too. And they like to blame me for stuff. That's another thing I haven't mentioned. I mentioned this to a friend tonight. And I'm trying to look what my next story may be, too. And it was funny. I totally forgot about this. But when I first came to the building I've been in for the last 3 years, there was a guy that was on the shift I am. He was a lab technician. I'm just basically a janitor, but he was a lab technician. I assist these lab technicians. I clean up after them. I give them what they need. That's my job. I'm basically some type of general worker for them. Anyway, this guy, not too long after I started there, he quit because emotionally and mentally he was basically a mess from the other lab technicians giving him a hard time all the time, and the supervisors. And you know what? I totally forgot about that. But yeah, he was a real nice guy, decent looking guy. He was really tall, if I remember correctly. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. It's probably best if I don't remember it. But I remember now, tonight, it was like, wait a minute. I remember this one guy that was a lab technician, and he complained about exactly what I'm complaining about now, that the supervisors were kept on giving him a hard time and giving him too much work to do. His coworkers that were lab technicians used to drive him nuts. And he finally got to the point, he was on medication and he was actually seeing a shrink, but he got to the point he just couldn't stand anymore. He had to quit. And he thought he had to take a cut in pay because where I work, we get paid really well. I'm going to take a drink real quick. But this guy actually was more than pleased that he quit, but he quit because of his coworkers and his supervisors. It's like, wow, doesn't that sound really familiar to people if you listen to my shows? Because that's exactly what I always say. Just letting you know. So, yeah, these people do seem to pick one person out of the crowd, and they make that person, that person's life a living hell. And they won't stop until the person finally quits. Well, the thing is, I think of it as like riding one of those mechanical bulls. Well, I've been riding that bull longer than anybody else because, you know, they're not going to stop until they either A, kill me, you know, emotionally make me such a wreck that I'll just end up walking out. And trust me, I've actually been there quite a few times that I've almost literally walked out of the job. Very close. And I mean, but again, that theoretical mechanical bull, I've been riding that thing longer than anybody else with these nutcases at my job in this building. So they haven't won yet. They're trying to. Trust me, they are desperately trying to get me to break. Like they broke this other guy, and who knows who else was before even him. Or people, I did know somebody else they try to break, and they're no longer in the building either that I work in. But it's just amazing. This is a place they make pharmaceutical drugs, things that people actually consume in their body. Now, I'm bringing that up for a very, very good reason, because I did find, if you remember yesterday, because I made a couple errors, and one thing was they were supposed to straighten this out at the beginning of the year, I mentioned. I said, that was 8 months ago. Well, that would have only been August. No, they actually were supposed to fix this problem of telling people, the supervisors, this is what you need to do. This is your job. This is what you have to do. Instead, by the way, last night, my one supervisor on duty told me why I'm not doing all the work in so many words or less. He didn't say it exactly like that. But what he did say, though, was, who's the person responsible for filling all the stuff for the lab techs? And I said, well, there's a woman who works Sunday through Thursday, and that job was given to her because that position on Sundays when there's nothing going on, her job is basically to fill supplies and everything else. Well, she never does it. And his comeback was, which is not true, he says, well, she's busy cleaning that day. I mean, if it was one of those things, like one of those, if you could picture this, if you're like drinking something and somebody says something that doesn't get you off guard, I would have spat all over him whatever was in my mouth. It's like one of those kind of situations. Like basically, what the fuck are you talking about? There's nothing going on Sundays. That day is for if something did not get done during the week or there was an emergency. But number one is to refill supplies. And then during the week if you run it low. But the main day is on Sunday, which she doesn't do. So instead of actually fixing the situation, he blamed me instead. So, well, indirectly. I'm not going to say directly. I'm not going to be that much of a dick. But he did indirectly say that it's my responsibility. Now, that was another thing, because I actually lost my train of thought for a second. Now, picture this, though. I told you how much I make an hour, and I know how much I make a year. So, I'm going to be like Stern. I'm not afraid to tell anybody, so I'm going to tell you how much I make a year. I make about $67,000 to $70,000 a year on my job. These lab technicians make $10 almost $10 more an hour than I do. So, but they get a plethora of overtime, and I get zero overtime since the beginning of the year. And they were supposed to straighten out that the work was dispersed equally. Now, this is a problem with unions, too. So, okay, I'm going to average out their income per year to an average, give or take a few thousand, to about $100,000 a year per tech, because they get a lot of overtime. They really do. They get at least a couple during the week. Every week, they're guaranteed overtime. So here's the thing. There's only one of me. There's two other people that I got to fight with to get their work done. They're not too bad, but they're not doing... Sometimes they're better. Today, they were really good. Sometimes they don't do anything or very little, and they stick me with a lot of work. These two workers on day shift. So... in all, I kind of try to figure out, I made a guesstimation, there's got to be at least 18 lab technicians in my department. Not in the building, in my department. Now, we got approximately about 100 buildings on my plant site where I work. Out of those 100 buildings, I work in one of them. In that one building, there is different departments. I said this to a friend, so I'm going to try to explain it to everybody else. In that one department, we have 18 lab technicians. In that department, these people are getting overtime. I averaged out that they're probably making at least, give or take, an average of about $100,000 a year. So you take that times 18, and now, if anybody wants to, please correct me. Out of those 18 people, or all of those 18 people, that's excluding the janitors, which I am, and these other two women are. We're glorified janitors. You take that 18 times 100,000, isn't that like $1.8 million a year for one department to spend money on? They're probably given, I assume these, I know, never assume, these bosses that are in charge of these people, and me, and these other two women, must have a budget of at least $2 million a year. Okay, here's $2 million. You have to disperse this money over, because this happened in one other building I worked where, okay, their budget gives them so much a year, and they had to fit me in because I was on a what's called a flex flow job. I was actually flex flowed, or a loan labor job. This was a different building, so they have to fit you into this their budget. So theoretically, say they have a budget of at least these supervisors, $2 million a year. They're spending $1.8 million on these lab technicians. The 3 janitors, including myself, if I'm making about $67 a year, let me do the math because I have a calculator, they're probably making the same amount. This is my gross. 67 times the other 2 would be basically $201,000 a year. Let me just make that different analogy. It's about $200,000 a year just on us. So added on, that would be about right. So it's $1.8 million for the lab technicians, and it's about $200,000 between the 3 of us. The 3 janitors. So why am I mentioning all this? Well, out of the 3, who is getting stuck and being blamed and thrown under the bus it was put to me tonight that, yeah, you've been thrown, one of the people I do talk to, one of the lab technicians I actually really like, told me, weren't you thrown under the bus quite a few times from your partners and other people? And it was like, yeah, I have. So when push comes to shove, I get in trouble, and yet out of the $200 million, the $2 million spent a year on people, the work they're supposed to do, guess who's held accountable for getting all the work done when it's not done? Me. So, but out of that $2 million spent a year, I'm only $67,000 of that money, and yet I'm being held accountable and responsible when things go wrong. Now, I'm just a janitor, so they do stuff that's more important, but the point is, they sit a lot, too. So you're paying them $100,000 a year average to do hardly anything for the last 9 months. Hardly anything. But yet, and I worked last week, this week, in the next week, I'm only working 32 hours. Yet, the amount of work they gave me was enough for about 90 hours to do in 32. You got these other people who are working this plethora of overtime, and they're doing far less than I am and getting paid at least $40,000 more than I do. So does this make any sense? And they're talking about how these bosses are being conscious about how money's spent and how the work is being dispersed. No, they're not. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up too because I mentioned this about how important it is, even though being a janitor, I did mention this yesterday, how important the job is being a janitor. So lo and behold, I had to do research last night or today, and I bookmarked it. And this is from the dailymail.com. And it was, remember yesterday, if you listened to my show, I was mentioning about Johnson & Johnson, how they had a problem because the foundation wasn't clean and the product being made killed people. So here, lo and behold, I did find one article. It was, again, on the Daily Mail. It was post-dated the 17th of January, 2011. So this was 4 years ago. And it says, Johnson & Johnson blames lax cleaning procedures for recall of 50 million more medications. So again, they're acting like holier than thou, these lab technicians. Their job is the most important thing on the face of the planet, that the janitorial is important, and when it doesn't get done properly, they automatically just blame Walter. Nobody else, just Walter. And this is the truth. So anyway, this thing says that the healthcare company Johnson & Johnson has announced it will recall further nearly 50 million more bottles and packages of medications or medicines. The firm blames lax cleaning procedures and other problems at the manufacturing plant behind the massive recall of products like Tylenol. Now, the Johnson & Johnson that got in trouble was down in Fort Washington. That's not far from where I work. Not far at all. It says its reputation has already been tarnished by the repeated recalls totaling, this was 4 years ago, nearly 200 million bottles in the last year, and it could face crime charges from the U.S. Department of Justice. Johnson & Johnson is recalling bottles and packages of various kinds of Tylenol, Benadryl, Rolaids, and other consumer products, it announced on Friday at that time. So it goes on and it says, I mean, they lost shitloads of money, folks. Shitloads. Yeah, they said additionally, I'm going back down. The company said it recalled nearly 43 million bottles of Tylenol, 8-hour, Tylenol arthritis pain, Tylenol upper respiratory, Benadryl, Sudafed PE, and Sinutab. Additionally, nearly 4 million bottles, rolls, and packages of Rolaids were recalled, all because of the things weren't being cleaned properly. So, yes, that's how important my job is, but it's not taken seriously. And yet, they could get these lab technicians, because that was part of their job, to do this work, but they won't. They won't even push them. They'll let them sit there all night doing nothing, and they're paying them overtime on top of it. But yet, my job's not important. It said U.S. sales of Johnson & Johnson consumer brands plunged 25% in the third quarter of that year, and it had begun to sell some of its brands, such as St. Joseph's aspirins, the subject of earlier recall. So, I mean, do you see what I'm trying to say, though? This is really serious with our company, and they're not paying attention at all. And they're so busy thinking about other things that they're not actually seeing what really is a serious issue with the company I work for. Yeah, it really tarnished Johnson & Johnson 4 years ago. And it's going to happen where I work. I'm telling you, I'm just waiting. Like I said, I've said it before. That's why I'm bringing it up. So this little prissy girl who walks around thinking that I'm like stalking her and just makes a big deal, or these people not doing their job and this other bullshit going on my job, they don't realize. So you're putting another nail in your coffin, not mine. Well, probably mine too. But I'm seeing it with both eyes open. They're seeing it with their both eyes shut. So there's a big difference. I'm seeing what's happening. I'm seeing the truth. You're seeing this imaginary world where Walter's just a lunatic and he's stalking the women. Well, you continue to think that when you come in and you wonder why your badge is not letting you get through the gates. Don't be surprised, and maybe you should have listened to iWalter and realized, oh my God, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. He did do his research, because that's going to happen. So I'm telling you now. So anyway, I'm going to see, because I might have had another story that kind of goes along with my my trend of complaining tonight before I go into my entertainment stories, because I got some entertainment stories too. Yeah, I'm going to pick this one next. I'm trying to keep them pretty close. Like if I transition to something else, it's close to what I was at. No, I didn't want to read that. Yeah, sorry. You don't even know what I'm talking about. I know. Anyway, another story thanks to Todd. He sent me PIX11.com. Houston woman pleads guilty to filming animal torture porn. Warning, the following article contains graphic descriptions of animal abuse that may be disturbing to some readers. Well, you're not going to be reading. You're going to hear me mess it up. Excuse me, I keep on belching. Houston, Texas. A Houston woman pleaded guilty to charges. She filmed herself torturing and killing small animals for sexual enjoyment of her viewers. So, maybe this would actually go with the girl who just likes to hide the fact that she walks around like a tramp all day at work, too. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Ashley Nicole Richards, 24, filmed 8 animals crush videos of herself mutilating and killing puppies, kittens, and chickens between February 2010 and August 2012. Animal Crush video depict women intentionally crushing, burning, and suffocating, impaling, or otherwise causing serious injury to small animals with the purpose of achieving sexual gratification for their viewers. These videos have been illegal since 2010, prosecutors said. Authorities say in one 13-minute video entitled Pup 2, Richards is seen mutilating and killing a blue pit bull mixed puppy with a mouth bound with duct tape. Richards is seen striking the dog numerous times with a metal cleaver, cutting off one of his paws, and its head and neck, prosecutors said. So she cut off one paw, the head and the neck of this animal. She beheads the dog and urinates on its body. In another video, she steps on the cat's eye with a heel shoe, prosecutor said. So, yeah, this woman is just far above what I'm being accused of doing. Trust me. What whack jobs we have in our country. She was arrested on state charges in August 2012 and initiated by the federal jury in November of that year. On Tuesday, she pleaded guilty to all 5 counts against her, 4 counts of producing and 1 count of distributing Animal Crush videos. She will be sentenced in December. She faces up to 7 years in federal prison on each count of conviction and possibly a $250,000 fine. It's amazing what she can get away with. And when was this posted, by the way? This was actually just posted 11:20 a.m. on September 10th, 2015. And all she's going to get is basically, in my opinion, a slap on the fucking wrist again. So there you go. But that's not as serious as what I'm getting, basically accused of at my job indirectly. Are you really being accused of that, Walter? Can you please prove that to me? Because I don't believe you know what you're talking about. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. Fuck you. I do know what I'm talking about. So anyway, here's another wacky story. Mandatory.com. Thank you once again, Todd. A detective hired to catch man's cheating wife discover his own son is her lover. So this man's wife was cheating on him with his son. So, and that was on September 10th, 2015. And yet another case of an attractive teacher sleeping with one of her underage students. A private detective learned just what a small world it can be in all the wrong ways. According to Mirror Online, Utah dance instructor and former NBA cheerleader Amber Telford, picture below, because there's a picture of her, she's not bad looking, was being investigated by her husband's PI for adultery when it was discovered that she was, in fact, cheating on him. The twist was that the culprit was the detective's own 17-year-old son, a student of Telford's at Colette Dance School in Taylorsville. Okay, so this was kind of weird. I guess it was the detective's son that she was cheating with, not the guy's husband, because it says in there the husband. It sounds like it's the detective's son. Upon discovering the two under a blanket with their clothes strewn all over the floor, the unnamed detective had Telford arrested. This is the woman's name. Her name's Telford, because there is actually a Telford in Pennsylvania. In exchange for pleading guilty to unlawful sexual activity with a minor, 6 initial charges were dropped against her, but she still spent the next 30 days in jail. Again, a slap on the wrist. After that, the court ordered an additional 150 hours of community service, complete probation, and for Telford to register as a sex offender. It's got to be great being a woman. You get away with this shit every fucking time. According to the court documents, Telford started by flirting with the teen and then eventually began a sexual relationship with him that occurred at her home. her mother's home, and also in a vehicle belonging to Amber. This flirting they speak of was said to involve buying clothes for and paying for him to go to Disneyland for a dance competition. She would also occasionally pick up the young lad in the middle of the night and drive him to various locations to have sex. Meanwhile, South Park PH has responded to the allegedly allegations with a resounding nice. And it has a thing from South Park. That's not even funny, folks. I'm sorry. That is not funny at all. Anyway, okay, that's on my lighter list stuff I want to talk about. Anyway, a friend, thank you, Todd, again. Hustlers.com, breaking news. Stevie Wonder apparently just learned he was black. This is no joke. This is actually true. I had to take a swallow. I got a Pepsi from Wawa down the road. Los Angeles, an exclusive Hustlers interview with Stevie Wonder has revealed shocking information about Stevie Wonder himself. According to Stevie Wonder himself, he has lived his entire life not knowing he was black. Well, the man's fucking blind. What do you expect? I know there's other ways you could tell him that. Upon being asked by Hustlers reporter David Martinez, how does it feel to be black and knowing there is still racism alive but not being able to see it? Only to hear about it, Stevie Wonder responded with, "I'm black?" At that point, Stevie Wonder's manager, Keith Harris, approached Stevie and had an inaudible private talk with Stevie. It is apparent that Keith was letting Stevie Wonder know that he was, in fact, black. As Stevie Wonder came back and sat back down on the interview chair with a puzzled look on his face. There's a little bit more, but I think that's just freaking hilarious. The man didn't know he was black. Isn't that incredible? I'm sorry, but if you want to read that, again, it's on, I'll spell it out too because I'm probably not pronouncing it right. It's called Hustlers.com. HUZLERS.com. That is no joke. That's a real story, by the way. See, I wanted to wean back down from my going off tonight. Okay, here's another story. Thank you, Todd. It was on the New York Post. Indian farmer is a millionaire thanks to the bull semen. This is no joke either. An Indian farmer claims he's got a $1 million load of bull, literally. This man who lives in northern India said his 8-year-old bull semen has raked in more than 1 million over the last 4 years. Hey, that is no bull. Trust me, I know that's really bad. There is no one like him in the entire country, and this is why he is my most beloved pet. He told Castor's new agency about his 3,000-pound animal, and in this name I can't even. The animal's name, I can't even pronounce it. I know Matt's going to bust me on that. Breeders line up to farm in this Sunvario village to buy the bull's strong swimmers to impregnate their cattle. Basically produces about this bull produces about an ounce of semen a day. I wish I could do that. Maybe not, because that would really hurt. And this guy sells it for 0.01. He sells 0.01 ounces for €3. No, but bottom line is this guy made $1 million off his bull in 4 years. His like a literal bull. It's not bullshit. It's a literal bull. This bull is like definitely a prize winner. That was actually posted September 10th, 2015 at 12:13. That was 12:13 p.m. in the afternoon. So that was just yesterday. God, if I could find a prize winning bull, I'd probably like have it in my house, in my bedroom. It's not that big, but it'd be worth it. This is okay. I'm weaning back down. I'm just making sure I got rid of all the really nasty stories. I think I did at this point. I cleaned up what I wanted to talk about. Now, this was on bloodydisgusting.com, and it was also on comicbook.com. Two different stories, but the same thing, so I only have to read one. Basically, they will be making a movie by, I think, the year... The one actually gives the year, so I'm going to have to go back to this other one. Anyway, they're going to make a movie, basically it'll be a remake, Godzilla versus King Kong. They're going to actually make another one of those. The original one was made in 1962. This new one is going to be released in 2018, so that's a couple years to go. They actually added before that, though, they're going to make a Godzilla 2. I think it's going to be the one maybe like the U.S. actually did something kind of right this time when they got the rights back to Godzilla. So they want to make a Godzilla 2, and then following that, there's going to be Godzilla versus King Kong. So, yeah. So you can read that either on comicbook.com or, again, on bloodydisgusting.com. Did I get that right? Yeah, bloodydisgusting.com. So, if you need to kind of like look at it for something else, look at those. There's probably other links. It's a big deal right now. Okay, you know, I can't wait any longer. I'm going to have to read this. This has nothing to do on the chain of command or the stuff I've been reading. I mean, never mind what I just said. Apple had just announced the other day about all these new products coming out. Now, this was kind of remotely interesting. It's just more money to spend, I know. But I didn't expect it to look this impressive. They're actually putting out the new Apple TV was one of their things. Oh, and there was another one that was like, I'm sorry, it was just fucking hilarious. So I have to talk about this that Apple put out. The new Apple iPad. It's like humongous. Literally humongous. Compare Apple TV models. The new Apple TV is actually going to be entertainment system, and it actually will play games. So it'll be technically not only Apple TV, but they're finally getting into basically the console business with the new Apple TV. It's going to actually play video games too. You know, once you basically get online. So it also has its, I'm looking at it now, it says Siri and a volume up and down button on the remote control. But you can actually get a game controller. The original one, which is the one I have, I bought it for $50, has the A5 single core chip. The new one's going to have a dual core A8 chip. So it's going to definitely be an increase on that. Now, here's the thing. The old one was, I got it for $50 when they marked the price down. Plus, I got some type of discount on it. The new one's going to be $150. So that's going to be the problem. It's not that bad. It comes with Siri, obviously the App Store, and third-party controllers. So, yeah, because you can actually buy an Apple game controller. So it looks really kind of impressive. And the fact that it plays games, I'm sure it's going to like appeal to more people. The games are going to be open source games. They're not going to be great, but still, it's going to be kind of cool. You know, I just shut something down, and I did have something. It was just so funny. On that new, let me see if I can find it from here on my Facebook page. Yes, Todd, my Facebook page. I mean, Matt, my Facebook page. It says, Internet reacts to iPad Pro and Apple Pencil announcements. And it's fucking hilarious. Look at unlid.co.uk. Unled. Well, it's unilad.co.uk. The Internet reacts to the iPad Pro and Apple Pencil. So the new Apple iPad is humongous. I mean, it's like the size of a laptop. It's 12.9 inches. It's big. So people exaggerate, and they showed this picture of a guy holding an iPad that's bigger than his whole entire body, because they're kind of making a joke of how big it is. Then they have this thing with the Incredible Hulk, you know, from the movies, holding the new iPad because it's so freaking big. Then there's another picture. It's the iPad Pro selfie stick announced, and it's basically a fucking crane holding the new iPad, because it's so humongous. And there's another picture. This one's just as funny. This guy's holding an iPad, and it's like bigger than his torso. So, I mean, I think this is fucking ridiculous. They're making an Apple Pencil, so they were busting on that one too. So they're showing like one of those sticks, pointed sticks that's pointed on both ends, and they're joking. They said, "Oh yeah, this is the new iPad Pencil," and it says Denny's introducing Denny's toothpick. Your teeth performing at full potential. It's the new iPad Pencil is what they're insinuating. Somebody else actually as a joke, got a pencil and put an apple at the end of the pencil and said, yeah, that's a new Apple iPad Pencil. So, I mean, you got to look at this. It's fucking hilarious. I'm not even kidding. As I take another swallow. This next picture is funny. I just got to describe these because I was thinking they were great. It's somebody actually really pulling out on their shopping cart, on the top of their shopping cart from like a Walmart. It says Best Buy, but it looks like a Walmart. On a shopping cart filled with groceries, like a flat screen TV. So the person put the picture up, and then they put a caption on top of it. It says, "First customer leaving Best Buy with a new iPad." So they're insinuating the iPad's so big, you have to put it on top of a shopping cart just to take it out. Now, this one, they're all classic, trust me. There's not one that's not funny. The iPad Home Outside Drive-In Edition. So they're showing like one of those, what do you call it, those, drive-in theater screens. And they're claiming that's the holder, or that's the screen for the new iPad, because they're just thinking it's so ridiculous how big they made it, Apple. And it's another a couple with the iPad, and it's bigger than their table. And it says, "Artist rendering an iPad Pro does make it look a bit awkward." And it's like a couple again. So, oh my God, these pictures are great. And you just got to read what they wrote, these people. I think it's funny. Okay, I only got two more stories to read, so you're lucky. I'm going to let you go after this if you had actually say, well, what's this guy fucking talking about tonight? One is on BloodyDisgusting.com, and its Trick or Treat sequel is going to happen, says Michael Dougherty. So everybody's been waiting. I did see the original movie called Trick or Treat. And, he's going to do it. And it says it's been nearly 2 years since the legendary Pictures announced a sequel to Michael Dougherty's cult classic anthology of Trick or Treat. It is a pretty interesting film if you haven't seen it, by the way. I'm not going to say it's great. I just said it's interesting. It's a horror movie. Anyway, Dougherty, Krampus watched the trailer. So he's actually doing that movie called Krampus as well. And the new holiday presents fans can open in theaters on December 4th. So Krampus is another horror movie this man is working on, but he's also going to, it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, he's also going to be working on Trick or Treat 2. Now, when you watch Krampus, by the way, that's the one I mentioned last night. Oh, excuse me. Tasted good, actually. Krampus is a... what do you call it? A folklore tale that takes place. It was before the folklore about Kris Kringle. So apparently, if you're good, you get Kris Kringle. If you're bad, but this came before Kris Kringle or Santa Claus, you would get Krampus, and Krampus is some type of paganistic, demonic. Santa Claus-like person that basically, instead of you receiving gifts, he takes what he wants, and he usually goes to, quote-unquote, I guess, in my way of saying it, naughty children. So that's coming out on the 4th, but I didn't realize it was the same guy who did Trick or Treat. And by the way, I see this. I'm kind of curious when this comes out. They're going to do some prequel to the movies of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the people who were responsible for the last film. I guess what was it called? It was 3D. What do you call it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. They're making one called Leatherface. I remember I mentioned that before, so I'm just mentioning it again. Yeah, I thought I might have had something else, but I'm kind of glad because it's getting hot in my room now. So, yeah, a lot of busting on the Apple, how ridiculous they got. That iWatch was a real waste. I wish I could just get rid of it, get money for it, get my money back, period. So, anyway, I think I saved the best for last because I was really happy. It was in Philly.com. Basically, Kevin Smith confirms Exton Square Mall, which is only 25 minutes away. I looked it up on the online maps, the Google Maps. It's 25 minutes from my house. Exton Square Mall is the shoot-in location for Mallrats sequel. And Kevin Smith's there. He's standing behind the Exton Square billboard sign. He was supposed to shoot it, I think originally, it says Kevin Smith may not be shooting Mallrats, the sequel to the 1995's Mallrats at Delaware County Granite Run Mall. That's originally where I think he was supposed to shoot it. But he is filming it at the Exton Square Mall. So there you go. So that's not far from home. And my friend said that's a really kind of busy mall. So he doesn't know how he's going to do it. Now, my friend Todd said he's going to have a hard time shooting there because he's going to have to shoot it after store hours. But you got to remember, that is not a problem for Kevin Smith because you got to remember that years ago, Kevin Smith had shot Clerks. That wasn't as big, but he didn't shoot at what was I going to say? He shot at a convenience store, and he did it. He worked at the convenience store, and when it was closed is when he shot the film. So he did not interfere with anything, but he did shoot after store hours, and he did a really good job. So this is not anything different. He can do that. My friend said he's wondering if Michael Rooker is going to do a cameo in the film, and he probably won't come out here to do it. He might. Who knows? But anyhow, I just wanted to pass that on too. I thought it was kind of cool. And I'm kind of like, and I actually got tickets to go see Kevin Smith. I got to remember that date is so I don't lose out because I'm going to see if I can ask him a question and say, hey, can I kind of like come in as an extra behind the scenes? Because I could probably like do it after, it would actually do it. I would have to do it during work hours unless he would, if he is shooting after the mall closes, he might actually be doing it like, 10 o'clock until wee hours in the morning. Just because that would be the only time we would be able to do any shooting at all. So it'll be interesting to see. And that being said, I'm kind of psyched. I hope everybody else is. But, it's kind of cool. And, M. Night Shyamalan's movie is coming out this weekend, too. And he also did shoot that around, because M. Night Shyamalan stays in Pennsylvania. So, very cool. Sorry, I'm trying to delete stuff. Hope it doesn't come up on my sound. So, I hope everyone enjoyed my show. It's not an enjoyable day because it is 9/11, and 9/11 is when we got attacked from the Middle East, and they killed a lot of our people. So people need to remember that. I just want to let this go because it's getting late. I'm sorry I didn't do any plugs tonight for my other friends. So I'll try to remember, in my next show or whatever over the weekend. Other than that, I'm going to try to, I talked to my friend Matt. I said, can you talk to Dave? And, Dave has his own music thing going on. I want to try to interview him. Maybe I can do that this weekend. I'll have something different to give to my listeners. So anyway, everyone, I am signing off for this Friday morning. I hope you enjoyed my show, and I will be back later on.